Mangwanani Mwalelepo Vukenjani Kwasvanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, the news and current affairs show bringing you everything you need to know happening on the African continent and beyond. You are joined by Ashwin Berry and Aina Raiza Kweo.
Happy Tuesday, everyone. Today is World Day for Water. It's sad but true that 783 million people around the world still do not have access to clean water. Over 2.5 million people still do not have proper access to adequate sanitation facilities. This sad lack of such a basic human need is a tragedy that people around the world are still seeking for redress. And here is more on Water Day. Thank you very much for joining us on Africa Good Morning, and here are the news making headlines. Inquest opened after discovery of 15 illegal miners' bodies. The South African Police Service in Gauteng is investigating the death of 15 alleged illegal miners' bodies who were discovered at a mining hole in Ekuleni. 8 bodies were first retrieved in Primrose on Thursday and 7 were brought to surface on Saturday, bringing the total number to 15. Gauteng's SEPS spokesperson Colonel Dikamadzo Selo said police were informed about the alleged illegal miners who were trapped in the mine. SABC News reports.
In our next story, Chinese airliner carrying 133 people crashes. A China Eastern passenger jet carrying 132 people crashed onto a mountainside in southern China on Monday, causing a large fire shortly after losing contact with air traffic control and dropping thousands of meters in just 3 minutes. There was no immediate confirmation of the number of casualties, but the disaster prompted an unusually swift public reaction from President Xi Jinping, who said he was shocked and ordered an immediate investigation into its cause. Now, the Boeing 737 flight from Kunming City to the southern hub of Guangzhou lost airborne contact over Wuzhou City in the Guangxi region yesterday afternoon, according to the Civil Aviation Administration of China. The plane was carrying 123 passengers and 9 crew members, the CAAC said.
Now moving on to our next story, deadly attack on women rise sharply in Iraq. In the first 2 months of 2022, 11 women were killed, most of them shot in autonomous Iraqi Kurdistan. A woman buried alive by her husband, others shot dead by a father or a teenage brother. Bloody violence against women has spiked in northern Iraq's Kurdish region, the autonomous area, keen on projecting an image of a relative haven of stability and tolerance in war-battered Iraq, has seen a sharp rise in femicide killings motivated by gender. In the past month, there has been an increase in femicide compared to the previous years, said a representative of the General Directorate for Combating Violence Against Women. On Friday before dawn, a 15-year-old teenager was fatally wounded by 6 bullets fired by her father in the village of Soran.
Now, in our next story, armed attackers in Burkina Faso kill at least 11 government troops. Unidentified armed attackers killed at least 11 Burkinabe soldiers and wounded 8 more in Burkina Faso's EST region on Sunday, 4 sources in the state military told Reuters. The region is among those hit by rising insecurity as jihadist groups with links to Al-Qaeda and Islamic State seek to gain control over once peaceful territories in West Africa's central Sahel region. The ruling military junta seized power in a January coup against President Roch Kabore, blaming him for failing to contain surging violence by Islamist militants that has killed thousands of people and forced more than 2 million to flee their homes in the Sahel.
In our next story, at least 6,000 people flee to the Gambia. An estimated 6,000 people have taken refuge in Gambia after fleeing the violence in the past week between the army and rebels in cantonments in the south of neighboring Senegal. The Gambian authorities announced on Saturday, the 19th of March. The Senegalese army announced that it had launched an operation on the 13th of March against rebels in cantonments, a region separated from northern Senegal by Gambia. The army had indicated that their main objective is to dismantle the bases of rebel military leader Salif Sadio, located along the northern border with the Gambia. We'll be right back shortly after this commercial break. Please stay with us.
Thank you for staying with Africa. Good morning. Let's get into the second half of your stories. We start off talking about world press freedom. Now, Angola, Eswatini, and Zimbabwe are ranked amongst the worst. Media watchdogs in Southern Africa are calling on the government of Angola, Eswatini, and Zimbabwe to do more to protect press freedom following the publication of the Freedom in the World 2022 report, which says those countries are among the most oppressive authorities to media in the region. The Media Institute of Southern Africa said it was concerned that Eswatini and Zimbabwe authorities were strangling the media as published in the recent Freedom in the World 2022 report. Eswatini is stubborn or notorious for shutting internet twice in 2021 alone in response to protests in that country. Zimbabwe mainly not free, considering issues around proposals on the regulation of the internet. Now, recently, Tunisia's main journalism union recently said anti-terrorism police detained a radio reporter on Friday for refusing to reveal his sources on a story about militants, describing the decision as a new attempt to undermine press freedom.
Nigerian presidency warns IG against impending police strike, says it will not be tolerated. Following plans by personnel of the Nigerian police force to embark on industrial action, the presidency has warned Inspector General of Police that it will not tolerate such an act. But in a move to assuage the feeling of the police officers, the IGP has assured that the contentious salary increment, the bone of contention announced by the federal government some months ago, would be paid with their March salaries. However, the personnel spearheading the planned industrial action has vowed to proceed with the exercise slated for the 26th of March. It has been gathered that the IGP was summoned to the presidential villa, where he was told that the government cannot afford a police strike and to take all necessary steps to ensure that it does not take place.
ECOWAS Mali reached no agreement on duration of transition before elections. West African mediator for Mali, Goodluck Jonathan, left Bamako on Sunday without reaching an agreement with the Malian junta on the duration of the transition and date for elections, his delegation and Malian authorities said. Jonathan, the former president of Nigeria, had been on a mission since Friday to continue discussions with the military-dominated authorities with a view to a return to civilian rule in Mali after 2 coups in August 2020 and May 2021. Now, the government of Mali, which has been under West African sanctions since January, says it has submitted a timetable for elections with a 3-year deadline for the transition. The government said it had proposed a new deadline of 29 months, which the junta leader Colonel Assimi Goita, in a last-ditch effort to reach a realistic compromise, has reduced to 24 months. But this new deadline, which the Malian authorities consider unavoidable, did not meet with the approval of the mediator and his delegation, who remained in their position, the government added.
Unknown gunmen attacked 2 police stations in southeast Nigeria. Gunmen using dynamite have attacked a police station in southern eastern Nigeria a day after 2 police officers were killed in another attack in the same area, said the police. Sunday's attacks in the state of Imo were the latest violence in the region where separatist violence is on the rise. The gunmen came with dynamite in the early hours of today and bombed part of the station at Oru, but the assault was repelled. State police spokesperson Michael Abata told AFP. He said 4 of the attackers were killed. Abata had said on Saturday that the number of gunmen armed with explosive attacks attacked Unga Mguma police station outside Owerri, the state capital, leaving 2 police constables dead.
Now, at the top of the show, we were talking about how a lot of people in the world don't have access to water. Now, UNESCO says untapped groundwater could be a solution to water scarcity. The United Nations Educational and Scientific Cultural Organization said on Monday that untapped groundwater resources offer a vast potential in alleviating the demand for ever scarcer water supplies around the world. In a report, the cultural agency stated that about 99% of all the liquid groundwater on Earth was groundwater, adding that the resource was, however, often poorly understood or undervalued. UNESCO said that driven by population growth and demand from industry and agriculture, water consumption was expected to increase by 1% annually over the next 30 years. Groundwater currently constitutes about 50% of the water withdrawn for domestic use worldwide and 25% of the volume used for irrigation, according to UNESCO. However, governance of the resource is often poor, and there is a shortage of technical expertise in some parts of the world, notably in sub-Saharan Africa. All right, that brings us to the end of our top stories. After the break, we're going to be talking to Mr. Andy Georgiou, who is a campaigner and consultant for climate and environmental protection, energy policies, and further development of democratic processes. It's easy to tell we'll have a lot to talk to him about, so stay with Africa. Good morning.
Have you received a loan from NSFAF? NSFAF loan is the same as any other loan. It must be paid and settled. NSFAF has a set of guidelines on how you can repay your loan and become debt-free. Therefore, it is important that you, a former beneficiary and a responsible Namibian, show your patriotism by helping pay back your loan and thus helping NSFAF become a revolving fund for the benefit of future potential students. By failing to pay back your NSFAF loan, you risk being blacklisted or having a court order against you. So arrange with the fund to pay back your loan today. For more information on how you can repay your loan, visit our website at www.nasfaf.na or visit our Facebook page or Twitter. Do the right thing and hashtag #paybackthemoney.
Now, Mr. Andy Georgiou is not a new face on our show. He's a campaigner and consultant for climate and environmental protection, energy policies, and further development of democratic processes. We're talking to him live from Germany. Welcome, Andy. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Good morning. Thanks for having me.
It's always good having you here on Africa Good Morning. I'm pretty sure you're about an hour behind us, so thanks for showing up. Now, Andy, tell us in just a few words what exactly you do. What's your work about?
Well, you've already said that I'm a campaigner for climate and environmental protection, and my main focus is fracking and gas-related issues. That's what I've fought over the past 10 years. I'm based in Germany, but I work internationally, and as a member of Saving Okavango's Unique Life Alliance, I work with and support local and international groups who oppose the oil and gas development plans of Reckon Africa in Namibia and Botswana.
All right, now you are one of the people who are engaged in the fight against gas and oil exploration in the Kavango areas of Namibia and the Kavango River Delta in Botswana from an international point of view, not limiting the discussion to Namibia alone. Please explain to us why you're concerned about the trend of oil industry to turn towards Africa.
Well, we have a very long list of environmental issues, damages done to the environment, public health over the decades by the oil and gas industry. We know that it is a significant and huge contributor to global warming. So that's one of the main concerns. I would say we know that Africa, in particular Namibia, Botswana, with the Okavango Delta and other places, still preserve some very, very unique places on this planet who should be protected and not exploited to the oil and gas industry. And the last point is Africa, and in particular Namibia, has a vast potential for renewable energy. So this industry coming in will create either a fossil lock-in or major stranded assets for Africa and Namibia, while at the same time the African continent, and in particular Namibia, could become a major renewable energy provider for Africa, but also for the world in the 21st century.
All right. Now, if we're going to be honest, people like you, especially at grassroots level, you're often told by the oil lobby, and in fact by African governments, everyone is not people like you, but everyone is told not to listen to people like you, Andy. And you're seen as people who are hindering economic and progress and wealth. So, what's your response to this? Because generally, you're not the most favorable folks when it comes to government. Why should we listen to you?
I'm used to that. So first and foremost, I truly believe in the fact that each country, each continent, should do whatever thing is best for the interest of its people. Now, coming back to your question, the oil and gas industry is a business sector of the 19th and 20th century, and I repeat myself there, is a main contributor to global warming, which is a threat for us all on this planet. And when we talk about economic perspectives, when we talk about a boost for the economy, when we talk about the future, then it's definitely not oil and gas you want to invest in. It's definitely renewable energy. And I repeat myself, especially Namibia has a huge and vast potential of solar and wind, and could actually also become a main green hydrogen producer in the 21st century. So why investing in an old, dirty business while you have all the opportunity to go straight into the future?
All right, now, Andy, some people are saying that oil exploration is now acceptable, others are against it. What is currently being done by the international community to encourage Africans not to support the gas and oil industry?
Well, I don't have a complete overview of all the programs for all the countries in Africa. My gut feeling is that the international community is not doing enough, to be honest. I know of, for example, the Mega Solar Initiative, an US aid program, and a memorandum of understanding was signed with the countries of Namibia and Botswana to set up a program that might provide up to 5 gigawatts of solar energy in Namibia and Botswana. There's a green hydrogen partnership between Germany and Namibia. I know about that. but it also comes along with challenges. So to cut a long story short, I don't think that we're doing enough, and I think that we need to do more. And the most important thing is that this needs to be a partnership that is equal. So Africa shouldn't be in the 21st century again just a continent who provides energy to a heavy industry in the global north. No, it should be a partnership that benefits both the global north and the global south, and it should be an equal partnership.
All right. Well, and the oil lobbyists and governments may not particularly like you, but we definitely appreciate having you on Africa Good Morning, sharing your expertise with us. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much for having me again. Have a good day.
We shall indeed. So, to our viewers, we're just talking to Andy Georgiou, who is a campaigner and consultant for climate and environmental protection, energy policies, and further development of democratic processes. And we're just talking about the happenings in the Kavango region and also how the international community should be responding and how the African communities should be responding as well. This is still Africa Good Morning. Speaking of Africa communities, we swing over to Botswana after the break with Masego Mohwasa.
Welcome back to Africa Good Morning. It's time now for us to cross over to the land of peace, tranquility, and harmony. That is Botswana. Masego Mohwasa is ready to give us the news on the ground. Good morning, Masego. How are you?
I'm good. Good morning, Aina. Good morning, Ashwin. And good morning, Africa.
We are doing very well this Tuesday morning. Please tell us about the former president's family that was arrested by DIS.
Yes, the saga continues between this war between the former president Ian Khama and our current president Mokgweetsi Masisi. The brothers and the sister-in-law of former President Ian Khama were arrested by the Directorate of Intelligence and Security Services earlier this week. Member of Parliament for Sorowe South Tekiji Khama and his twin brother Anthony Khama were allegedly kept at the DIS headquarters here in Gaborone, Sebele. While wife of Tekedi Khama, Thea Khama, has been released, she took to social media to confirm the arrest, but unfortunately is not at liberty to divulge details. Former President Khama took to social media as well to cite that this is a continuation of the harassment of his family based on fabrication of accusations. Now, if you remember, towards the end of last year, it was alleged that our former president had to flee to South Africa because he was also being hunted down by the current president. So I hope this can all be sorted before election season arrives. I know it's a problem in Africa where things get chaotic right before elections.
Yes, yes, and of course, political bickering tends to happen when leadership is actually needed the most. Now we swing over to your next story. Government lifts mandatory vaccination rule at all ports of entry. It is all ports of entry, right?
Yes, the Ministry of Health and Wellness has revoked mandatory vaccination rule upon entry into Botswana, following an uproar from both citizens and visitors on the terms of entry and classification of what it means to be fully vaccinated by the powers that be. The government has decided that any persons who are not fully vaccinated will only need to provide a negative PCR test without being forced to take their due jab. Now, before this, if you weren't fully vaccinated, and fully vaccinating meaning being due for your booster jab, you would be forced to take a jab at the border. This also follows a case where a South African national had taken the ministry to task after he allegedly suffered a brain hemorrhage after taking the jab at the border while visiting Botswana. Now, jabs are expiring. Currently, they're about to expire. So it does make one question whether or not it really is safe would have been safe to continue making jabs at entry mandatory.
All right, Miss, Botswana's tenacity wins many hearts on the world stage. Please tell us about her.
Yes, another topic that I'm surprised to know is actually very political. But the country and pageants organizers are very proud of Palesa Molefe's performance at Miss World. While the beauty did not make it into the top 12, the support that she gathered was unsurmountable. Some even saying that she has been the most influential Miss Botswana to date in a couple of years, following a fashion mishap on the night of the pageant where she had to rely on donations from other pageant entrants such as a ball gown from Miss Africa and Miss Cote d'Ivoire Olivia Yase. Botswana still rally behind their queen and hope that the Botswana organizers will do better to carry our future representatives to the podium next time. So yes, she did go through a lot. Her entire reign has been somewhat challenging, but we are still proud of her. And similar to sports, people really got together to support our current Miss Botswana.
Yes, the bravery and the resilience is absolutely palpable. And of course, the sense of community. Lovely to see African women having each other's backs like that. Aina, would you take care of me if I had a wardrobe mishap? I don't know
Definitely.
how that would work. Thank you, Maseko, for bringing us the news stories from Botswana.
Thank you for having me, and enjoy the rest of your week.
We shall certainly try to. Now, if you are in Namibia, there are words you've been hearing buzzing around it. Those words are Benguela Jemba. What are they about? Well, stick around. More on that after the weather.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, welcome to another exciting edition.
Now on Friday, the President of the Republic of Namibia, Dr. Hage Geingob, inaugurated Debmarine's new diamond recovery vessel, which is called the Benguela Gem, at the port of Walvis Bay. After 6 years of planning and 3 years of execution at a budget of 7 billion Namibian dollars, the Benguela Gem is ready to commence in April. Now, this video was compiled by Nicanor Nangolo and Claudia Reiter.
On Friday, the Namibian President, Hage Geingob, inaugurated Debmarine's new diamond recovery vessel, which is called the Benguela Gem, at the port of Walvis Bay. After 6 years of planning and 3 years of execution at the budget of 7 billion Namibian dollars, the Benguela Gem is ready to commence operations in April. With its 7 floors and over 100 rooms for crew members and guests, the Benguela Gem was delivered 3 months ahead of schedule with an incredibly 17% below the initial budget. It is the largest diamond recovery vessel ever built, as it is also the largest vessel on the Namibian Vessel Registry with a gross weight of over 19,000 tons. Chief Executive Officer of Debmarine, Otto Shikongo, said that the name Benguela Gem derived from the Benguela Current that forms the eastern portion of the South Atlantic Ocean. According to him, the Benguela Gem comes with a green passport designed to the latest and highest environmental standards, making her the most environmental friendly vessel of its kind. The vessel will also create 160 high-skilled jobs in Namibia and will produce around 500,000 carats annually, with a revenue exceeding 3 billion Namibia dollars, making her the single biggest contributor to Debmarine Namibia and Namdeb Holdings revenues. President Hage Geingob mentioned at the ceremony that Namibia has become a focal point of global attention over the past several months. He said, "The discovery of hydrocarbons, suggesting that we may have commercial quantities of oil, has attracted much attention to Namibia. The work we are doing with green hydrogen has put Namibia firmly on the map as a desired destination for international investors. While these ventures will unlock tremendous economic opportunities for Namibia, they will not happen overnight. We need current and ongoing projects, like this new vessel, to help us through the transition until we bring these new ventures to reality." He added that since gaining independence on March 1990, our mantra has always been that the government cannot do it alone. Thus, partnerships with the private sectors is essential if we are to reach our full potential as a country. Geingob said that guaranteeing safety and peace of our nation cannot be left to government alone. We need private sectors to absorb young Namibians into training programs and to create job opportunities, he said. This is what people would yearn for more than anything else. He continued that when you provide job opportunities to people, you create a sense of pride and purpose for them. And when people have pride and purpose, they will contribute to the well-being of their families, their communities, and the country at large. He ended his address by saying, "Let us therefore hold hands as citizens, government, and the business community. Together we can reignite our economy, break the shackles of poverty and build a better country, and deliver the promise of prosperity to the Namibian house."
When it starts moving again, but everything's on automatic. Back then we used to track it ourselves. Manually. Now everything's automatic. Once it tracks, goes, let's say for a sequence of maybe around whatever time.
Okay.
Reverse mining, we don't. Once we engage it, to just go reverse slowing, but slowly. Yeah. Like no stopping until maybe end of the rainy. Just like that. So it stays underwater, let's say 7 days, 10 days, but we normally keep it 7 days. After 7 days, we cover it, bring it back on the deck, then we do some maintenance. Normally, if there's nothing wrong, do every day because the plane gas needs some maintenance, fix everything, because this is an impeller for the pump. That's what we use for suction. So if it wears out, we have to replace it. But if it's still fine, put it back again.
So how do you guys identify the areas possible?
Now we have surveyors.
Surveyors.
Yeah.
So they go in before the time.
There's the other vessel explore and do everything.
So
they give us panels. Okay. That's already surveyed everything. And then they give us a panel. We decide if you want 30 meters, 120 meters, go down depending on what area. There's a lot of areas, some clay, some rocks, some depend. Then we decide how we are going to manage that whole money. Okay. Otherwise,
but you guys don't have divers that go down there?
No, we don't. We control it from, there's a control room up there. Yeah. That's where all the whole station, joystick stuff, the screens. You see there's cameras on that thing, there's lights. So once it goes, because it's dark deep down, once it goes 20 meters, then the light goes on. Light goes on, cameras on, then you can see what's happening. There's sonars on the front and on the back. The front, you see the way, if you are going forward mining, you can see at least where you are going. The one here on the back sonar, half sonar, you also see the deck. That's for visual and everything. Otherwise, yeah. It's control. You're using that hydraulic control.
Choose your flex package with Paratus today. Sign up for ultra-fast fiber with the convenience of mobile LTE. That's 2 products in one bundle. It's new, it's one bill, and you can stay connected in more than one location.
For more information, visit paratus.africa/NA.
Always prepared. Paratus.
Thank you for staying with Africa. Good morning. Let's get into your economic news stories. We start off in Zimbabwe. National Foods records 81% profit jump. Listed agro-industrial concern National Foods Limited has hailed economic progress in the country as it posted a whopping 81% increase in gross profit in the latest reporting period. Presenting the group's performance for the 6 months ended December 31, 2021 recently, Nat Foods chairman Todd Moyo said despite brief setbacks which saw the slight surge of inflationary pressures towards the end of last year, the year was marked by progressive developments. During the review period, volumes increased by 15% to 304,000 tons compared to the prior period. Volumes for most products recorded significant increases, with the flour unit increasing by 3% compared to the same period last year, while the snacks division grew by 49%. As anticipated, demand for maize meal was subdued following last year's excellent harvest, and volumes declined by 7% compared to last year, with stock feed volumes improved by 16% when compared to the prior year.
In our next story, Mali records the highest cotton production. Mali has recorded its largest cotton production of more than 760,000 tons for the 2021-2022 season. According to the government, record production was made possible by maintaining a subsidy on agricultural inputs, maintaining a minimal shift in the cost of cotton seen amongst other initiatives. In September 2021, the United States Department for Agriculture had indicated in its report that Mali will be the largest cotton producer in Africa for the 2021-2022 season, followed by Benin, Cote d'Ivoire, and Burkina Faso.
Now in our next story, Kenya to receive $750 million from the World Bank. The World Bank has approved a $750 million loan for Kenya aimed at supporting the East African country's 2022 budget. However, Kenya would have to carry out necessary reforms in its public procurement procedures aimed at curtailing corruption as a condition for the approval of the money. The $750 million loan that has been approved is the second tranche of a credit facility that was launched for Kenya in 2020 after the East African country qualified for the World Bank's development policy operations. The DPO program makes it possible for the World Bank to lend directly to government treasuries instead of financing particular projects. The first tranche of the credit facility was disbursed to Kenya in June 2021. The loan comes with an annual interest rate of 3%. Early last month, the Kenyan government announced that it was planning to expand its 2022 budget by spending an additional 956.7 million. Now, like most African countries, Kenya already owes a lot of debt. Statistics obtained from Statista put the country's gross debt in relation to GDP at 69.7% as of 2021.
In our next story, U.S. moves to freeze Uganda's spot of gold. The United States Treasury Department sanctioned regime on the Entebbe-based African Gold Refinery Ltd. and its Belgium co-founder director Elian Goetz announced late Thursday evening, come 2 days after Russia scuttled a vote to sanction the same company at the UN Security Council. France hoped to have the committee chaired by its former colony Gabon give the green light to add the African Gold Refinery Ltd. and its director to the sanctions list. The UNSC, Russia and China, which often vote together, invoked a technical hold on the proposal that had the support of the US, France, the UK and the United Arab Emirates as the co-designating states. In UN corridors, technical hold functions as opposed on a proposal and is moved on the ground that the technicality of the proposal has not yet been sufficiently examined.
That brings us to the end of our economic news stories. Now, just before we get into the sports, let's have a look at the economic indicators. Thank you for staying with Africa. Good morning. Now there's a lot happening in the sporting world. That's why we trust Ari Hohat to come and break it down for us. So let's have a look at Ari as he brings us the sports package.
Good day everyone, it's time for international sport and we start off with cricket news from the World Cup in New Zealand, the Women's 50-over World Cup, and the latest game that was played was between the West Indies and Pakistan, and it's Pakistan that won the game by 8 wickets. It was a rain-delayed game, it started late and it was reduced to 20 overs. It was an important game for the West Indies, but they lost unfortunately. They were number 3 on the log before the start of the game, and it was an important game for them to make sure that they in the top 4 Only 4 of the 8 teams go through to the semi-finals, and they're in a tight position now. It could be England and India that overtake the West Indies to take the top 4 spots. Lots of cricket still to be played, and South Africa will have a big say in that. South Africa's next game is the next game in the tournament, that is against Australia, but South Africa also still need to play both India and the West Indies, and the results from those games will determine who will end up in the top 4. Now on to some tennis news, and after the tournament played in California, that's the Indian Wells Masters, news from that in the women's section is that Iga Swiatek of Poland is the new world number 2 in the world rankings, just behind Ashley Barty of Australia, that is still in number 1 position. She achieves that position on number 2, that is Swiatek. That is because she won the Indian Wells Masters. She beat Maria Sakkari of Greece by 6-4 and 6-1. And Swiatek of Poland is just 20 years old and a new sensation on the tennis circuit in the women's section, and she also won the previous tournament in the WTA Thousands tournament, so she's got back-to-back wins in that. Also on the men's circuit, it was news there is that Taylor Fritz of the USA. He went through to win the Masters, the Indian Wells Masters, tough game against Rafael Nadal. 35-year-old Rafael Nadal, a legend of the game. And it was Taylor Fritz that won in the end. The score was 6-3 and 7-6. And also great news for Taylor Fritz. He's 24 years old, and also in the world rankings, he's up to number 13 in the world with that victory. Both the players struggled with injuries. It was Taylor Fritz that struggled with ankle injury. And also it was Rafael Nadal that complained of a chest injury halfway through the first set. But in the end, it was Taylor Fritz that came through and won that tournament 6-3, 7-6. And now MotoGP news on the motorcycles. It is Miguel Oliveira of the KTM team that won the Indonesian Grand Prix, and it was quite difficult conditions. It was raining the whole time, but he won the Indonesian Grand Prix. The points table after 2 GP races at the moment is Ania Bastianini. He leads by 30 points after the first two races. And then in second place is also of KTM is Brad Binder of South Africa on the KTM Red Bull, and he's second on 28 points. And 1 point behind him is Fabio Quartararo. He is in third on 27 points. Brad Binder's brother, that is Darren Binder, he also did well in his first Grand Prix points. He finished in 10th position in Indonesia. Brad Binder finished in 6th. Now we conclude with some golf news. It was the Valspar Championship that was played in the PGA, the US PGA in Florida, and it was Sam Burns that won that tournament, and he moves up to number 10 in the world with that win. His new world ranking is number 10, and the number 1 world ranked player at the moment still is Jon Rahm. A big major coming up, that is the Masters, the US Masters that will be played from the 7th to the 10th of April. So all the professional players leading up or getting their form into place for that big major coming up. There's still one tournament on the PGA that's going to happen before the Masters, and that is this coming weekend. It is Valero Texas Open that will take place in San Antonio in Texas. So that's the international sports news at the moment, and have a great day, and we talk again tomorrow. Goodbye.
Thank you for staying with Africa Good Morning from the top of the hour, as we have been bringing you all the pertinent stories happening in the African continent and beyond. Now, if you perhaps missed our top stories, have a look at the headlines. Inquest opened over discovery of 15 illegal miners' bodies. Chinese airliner carrying 133 people crashes. Deadly attacks on women rise sharply in Iraq. Armed attackers in Burkina Faso kill at least 11 government troops. At least 6,000 people flee to the Gambia. Zimbabwe National Foods records 81% profit jump. Those have been our stories.
Thank you very much for joining us on this Tuesday edition of Africa Good Morning. We do welcome your remarks regarding our show. You can post them on our Facebook and our Twitter page that is at Africa Good Morning. You can also catch us on our DSTV channel 285 and Gotv channel 94. And on that note, it's all our love, all our light, and we are sending you good vibes.
Swera Jaganaka.